Hello, hello. Today I'm so excited to share with you the 8 books that are on my summer reading list. I am just itching to get to these books, but first I am forcing myself to get through my library holds because I am also very excited to read these books, and those of course fall under priority. However, after that, these books are on the #1 priority list before I get to any other books this summer. Honestly, here in Texas, summer doesn't really go away until October, but for the sake of this TBR list, let's say August is the end of our summer, okay? So because I am dying to read these, but probably won't be able to get to them for a couple of weeks, I thought that maybe chatting about them with you would scratch that little itch for me. First up on the list, and probably the book that's been on the TBR shelf the longest. No, that's not true. I think I have 2 others have been on here longer than this one, but On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by the incredible Ocean Vuong. I went to his book tour event here in Austin a couple weeks ago while he was promoting this book, The Emperor of Gladness, which is also on this list. But I actually haven't read any Ocean Vuong before. I've heard wonderful things about him. I knew a little bit of his story, and so I saw that he was coming. I signed up to go to the event. I had planned to read this book prior to attending, but life happens. I didn't get to it. In a way, I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because listening to him talk was just an absolute delight. I really admire the dedication to his craft, and he's just so talented. And I'm saying this based off of the tiny little snippet that he read for us of The Emperor of Gladness, and of course, based on everything that he said during the interview or the chat at the event. It was wonderful. A little bit about this book. This is his debut novel. It is a piece of literary fiction, and it was published in 2019. So because I haven't read this book, I can't give you a summary. And so what I've done for these is I've decided to either read what's on the dust jacket, or for some of these, I pulled up the Goodreads summary. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read. Written when the speaker, Little Dog, is in his late 20s, the letter unearths a family's history that began before he was born, a history whose epicenter is rooted in Vietnam and spans to Hartford, Connecticut, and serves as a doorway into parts of his life his mother has never known, all of it leading to an unforgettable revelation. At once a witness to the fraught yet undeniable love between a single mother and her son, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is also a brutally honest exploration of race, class, and masculinity. Asking questions central to our American moment, immersed as we are in addiction, violence, and trauma, but undergirded by compassion and tenderness. It is as much about the power of telling one's own story as it is about the obliterating silence of not being heard. With stunning urgency and grace, Ocean Vuong writes of people caught between disparate worlds and asks how we heal and rescue one another without forsaking who we are. The question of how to survive and how to make of it a kind of joy fuels this shattering portrait of a family, a first love, and the redemptive power of storytelling. I mean, come on. This is like screaming everything that I love about literature. This is not based on real people, but Ocean Vuong was heavily inspired by his ancestors. I believe that's what he says, and when he's talking about this novel. I'm so excited to get to this one, and I can't wait to share with you my thoughts when I do. Next up, The Emperor of Gladness. This is Ocean Vuong's newest novel and new release. As of this year, 2025, it just came out in May. It is also another work of literary fiction, and something that I picked up on immediately, just on hearing him speak and on listening to the reading that he shared with us, which is the first few pages of this book. Ocean is a poet, and you hear it in the way that he speaks. You hear it in the words that come across the pages of these novels. It's so beautiful. It's such a unique style and a unique type of writing technique that I'm really interested in, because in a way it kind of defies the rules that we have created for genres and prose versus poetry. Based on what I heard him say at this event, he's all about kind of defying these different categories that we put our work into. And I really admire the way that he does that so thoughtfully. The Emperor of Gladness. One late summer evening in the post-industrial town of East Gladness, Connecticut, a 19-year-old, Hi, stands on the edge of a bridge in the pelting rain, ready to jump, when he hears someone shout across the river. The voice belongs to Grazina, an elderly widow succumbing to dementia, who convinces him to take another path. Bereft and out of options, he quickly becomes her caretaker. Over the course of the year, the unlikely pair develops a life-altering bond, one built on empathy, spiritual reckoning, and heartbreak, with the power to transform Hi's relationship to himself, his family, and a community on the brink. Following the cycles of history, memory, and time, The Emperor of Gladness shows the profound ways in which love, labor, and loneliness form the bedrock of American life. At its heart is a brave epic about what it means to exist on the fringes of society and to reckon with the wounds that haunt our collective soul. Hallmarks of Ocean Vuong's writing, formal innovation, syntactic dexterity, and the ability to twin grit with grace through tenderness are on full display in this big-hearted story of chosen family, unexpected friendship, and how far we would go to possess one of life's most fleeting mercies, a second chance. I want to cry just reading that. He just has this wonderful ability to evoke so much emotion through his writing in such a thoughtful way. When I'm talking about his technique, it's so thoughtful. And when you hear him talk about the way that he writes and the way that he teaches, because he is also a professor, you can tell just how much knowledge, both like technically speaking, what he's studied, and also his own lived experience, how much that knowledge informs his process and how thoughtful he is about the process. I mean, it's just amazing. I know both of these books have some heavier themes, but there's nothing more than I love reading a book that has been written by somebody who you know just lives and breathes writing and is so passionate about that art form. From hearing him speak just 5 seconds, you know that about him. From reading a couple sentences of his book, you know that about him. I'm so thrilled. I'm very much looking forward to reading both of these books this summer. And I think what I'll do is, I'm not sure if I'll do a vlog, maybe recording live reactions throughout my reading experience of each book, or a sit-down video. But I think either way, I want to do a video dedicated to both of these books. Okay, third up on the summer reading list TBR, we have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I purchased this book when I was like halfway through Beautiful World, Where Are You? I immediately, talking about somebody who is so passionate and so thoughtful and careful with their writing style, their writing process, everything, you can tell the same is true about Sally Rooney just by reading her work. I have never heard her speak. I haven't read anything about her or any interviews or anything, but just based on her work alone, that is evident, her passion for the craft. And I loved Beautiful World, Where Are You? I am very excited to pick up Normal People. A friend of mine told me that it's the most accurate portrayal of a first love. Now, whether you agree or disagree with that, I am very curious to read this story and dive into these beautiful characters that Sally Rooney is so good at creating for you. Normal People is a work of literary fiction published in 2018, and it follows our two main characters, Connell and Marianne. At school, Connell and Marianne pretend not to know each other. He's popular and well-adjusted, a star of the school football team. That sounds like a Taylor Swift song already. I love it. While she is lonely, proud, and intensely private. But when Connell comes to pick his mother up from her job at Marianne's house, a strange and indelible connection grows between the two teenagers, one they are determined to conceal. A year later, they're both studying at Trinity College in Dublin. Marianne has found her feet in a new social world, while Connell hangs at the sidelines, shy and uncertain. Throughout their years at university, Marianne and Connell circle each other, straying toward other people and possibilities, but always magnetically, irresistibly drawn back together. And as she veers into self-destruction and he begins to search for meaning elsewhere, Each must confront how far they are willing to go to save the other. Sally Rooney brings her brilliant psychological acuity and perfectly sparse prose to a story that explores the subtleties of class, the electricity of first love, and the complex entanglements of family and friendship. I'm so excited to read this one. I know I'm late to the game. I don't care. I can't wait. Moving away from more contemporary literary fiction novels and into the classics, the next book on my summer reading list is Persuasion by Jane Austen. Published in 1817, Persuasion is Jane Austen's last completed novel. I believe she passed away shortly after completing the manuscript, and then I believe the book was published after, if I'm not mistaken. I love Jane Austen, love our girl Jane. I have not read one of her books or reread one of her books in a hot minute. I actually can't find my copies of Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. I think somebody broke into my house and just stole those two books because there's no other explanation why I can't find them on my shelves. Persuasion and I think Mansfield Park is the other one. I haven't read them yet. So I wanted to add one of her books to my list, and I'm very excited to pick this one up. Jane Austen gives me all of the cozy, comforting vibes. This Penguin classic, this paperback Penguin classic is so comfy and cozy and comforting. I'm very excited to pick up this book. And if you don't know what Persuasion is about, Jane Austen's novel of missed opportunities and second chances centers on Anne Elliot, no longer young and with few romantic prospects. It's giving Charlotte. 8 years earlier, she was persuaded by others to break off her engagement to poor, handsome naval captain Frederick Wentworth. What happens when they meet again is movingly told in Austen's last completed novel. Set in the fashionable societies of Lyme Regis and Bath, Persuasion is a brilliant satire of vanity and pretension and a mature, tender love story tinged with heartache. Yes, give me that. Give me that like cozy, comfy, nostalgic vibe. I already have like a playlist in my head for this book. You know, if you watched my first few videos, we are not getting through the summer reading list TBR without a memoir on here. So a while back, I was talking to a friend about how I love a good memoir, and she recommended In the Dream House by Carmen Machado. This memoir was published in 2019. I know little to nothing about this memoir. I just know that a good friend of mine who has excellent taste in books recommended it to me, and so obviously I immediately rushed to my local bookstore and purchased it. Carmen Maria Machado's prismatic revolutionary memoir is an electrifying account of a relationship gone bad and a bold dissection of the mechanisms and cultural representations of psychological abuse. Each chapter is driven by its own narrative trope, the haunted house, erotica, the buildings Roman, through which Machado holds her story up to the light, while also casting a critical eye over legal proceedings, fairy tales, iconic works of film and fiction, and a broad swath of queer history. In the Dream House explodes our ideas about what a memoir can do and be. I can't wait. Book number 6 on the list. I am so excited to pick up. This is a classic piece of fiction and one that I very organically came across. Actually, let's see. This is Pedro Páramo by Juan Rulfo. I actually originally came across this book when I came across this book, The Burning Plain, which is new. Well, the original book is not new. The translation is new. And when I came across it, I immediately said, yes, give me that. I do want to find the original Spanish version of this. But I was not familiar with this writer, which is a crime, I think. And then a couple months ago, we were in Marfa, and of course, I went in the bookstore, you guys. What do you mean? I found this. So I was like, yes, give it to me. The quote on the back is Jorge Luis Borges, who I love. So immediately, yes, he says, one of the best novels in Hispanic literature and in literature as a whole. High praise from somebody that I deeply admire and respect. Pedro Páramo was originally published in 1955, a masterpiece of surreal that influenced a generation of writers in Latin America. Pedro Páramo is the otherworldly tale of one man's quest for his lost father. That man swears to his dying mother that he will find the father he has never met, Pedro Páramo. But when he reaches the town of Comala, he finds it haunted by memories and hallucinations. There emerges the tragic tale of Páramo himself and the town whose every corner holds the taint of his rotten soul. Although initially published to a quiet reception, Pedro Páramo was soon recognized as a major novel that has served as a touchstone text for writers including Mario Vargas Llosa and José Donoso. Now published in a new translation from the definitive Spanish edition by celebrated Rulfo scholar Douglas J. Weatherford, and featuring a foreword by Gabriel García Márquez, this new edition of the novel cements its place as one of the seminal literary texts of the 20th century. I mean, honestly, I don't know how I had never heard of this book, and I'm a little bit embarrassed. So I'm very excited to pick this one up. It's a shorty. I do want to hunt down the original Spanish edition as well for both of these. This book is not on our TBR, but I just wanted to share the context. Also, look at this gorgeous cover. Obsessed. Don't laugh at me, okay? But when you hit your 30s, weird stuff happens, you guys, okay? Things that you thought were so lame are now your genuine source of joy. Okay, I distinctly remember being in my early 20s, and a good friend of mine had recently told me that her parents had picked up birding, and I was like, what do you mean birding? What is that? And she explained, it's bird watching. The way it's described, it sounds like a sport, and I was like, no, that's, what do you, your parents are just looking at birds? And she's like, yeah, they have books and binoculars and they go on hikes, and when they travel, they try to identify these birds. And I was like, that is insane. And I am now the owner of 2 bird feeders and 3 different books on birds. I already own the binoculars. Okay, I already have them. And I have not ventured out into the wild outside of my immediate environment to find new birds. Not yet anyway. But what can I say? It's a delightful pastime, okay? Birds are they're beautiful, and it is so fun to watch their patterns and hear their calls and try to identify which call belongs to which type of bird. I don't care, okay? I'm a birder. So when I saw this, I had to grab it, okay? Book People, our favorite indie bookstore here in Austin, had this book featured, and I immediately had to pick it up. It's half memoir, half nature book about birds. What do you mean? And the best part is Amy Tan, who wrote this book, is not only a talented writer, but a beautiful artist. Are you kidding? Look at these sketches. I mean, Amy, girl, incredible. This is a relatively new release. I believe this was published last year. If you are hearing the name Amy Tan and you're like, where have I heard that before? The Joy Luck Club? Yeah, that Amy Tan wrote this and illustrated this, okay? Tracking the natural beauty that surrounds us, the Backyard Bird Chronicles maps the passage of time through daily entries, thoughtful questions, and beautiful original sketches. With boundless charm and wit, author Amy Tan charts her foray into birding and the natural wonders of the world. In 2016, Amy Tan grew overwhelmed by the state of the world. Hatred and misinformation had become a daily presence on social media, and the country felt more divided than ever. In search of peace, Tan turned to the natural world just beyond her window, and specifically to the birds visiting her yard. But what began as an attempt to find solace turned into something far greater, an opportunity to savor quiet moments during a volatile time, connect to nature in a meaningful way, and imagine the intricate lives of the birds she admired. You guys, that's literally what I do every morning when I'm enjoying my matcha and my breakfast at my dining table. I'm just watching the birds. So I'm so excited. And last but not least, book number 8 is yet another classic, If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. Published in 1974, this is one of James Baldwin's many masterpieces. And of course, it is a classic in American literature. I somehow have yet to read a James Baldwin novel. I don't know how that's possible. I know I've read essays from him. I don't know how I've never read a novel. So this needs to happen. It's way overdue. Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm so excited to read this. This is, I believe, a romance. Of course, lots of other things going on. So let me just read the Goodreads summary for you. Told through the eyes of Tish, a 19-year-old girl in love with Fani, a young sculptor who is the father of her child, Baldwin's story mixes the sweet and the sad. Tish and Fani have pledged to get married, but Fani is falsely accused of a terrible crime and imprisoned. Their families set out to clear his name, and as they face an uncertain future, the young lovers experience a kaleidoscope of emotions: affection, despair, and hope. In a love story that evokes the blues, where passion and sadness are inevitably intertwined, Baldwin has created two characters so alive and profoundly realized they are unforgettably ingrained in the American psyche. I mean, nothing else needs to be said. I can't believe I haven't read him before. It's happening. It's happening this summer. Okay? And that concludes my summer reading list. I'm so excited. I want to know what you have on your summer reading list, on your TBR. Do you have any of these books on your list, or have you read any of these books? If you have and you love them, please share in the comments. Spoiler free, of course. I'd love to hear from you. Like always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future content. And don't forget to share with your favorite book bestie. I appreciate you all so much, and until next time, I'll see you next time. Bye!